What if the solution to Montreal's goaltending crisis isn't in trading for a veteran or rushing Jacob Fowler, but in stealing a 26-year-old starter from a division rival desperate to clear their crease logjam? Kent Hughes' search for a definitive solution to the Montreal Canadiens' goaltending woes may have found a target in upstate New York. According to Bombshell reporting from the Global Sports Desk, highlighted by the Times of India and based on rumors circulating throughout the league, the Habs are in pole position alongside the Edmonton Oilers to acquire Buffalo Sabres goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. The situation in Buffalo has reached a breaking point, with 3 goaltenders on the main roster and pressure mounting to give playing time to young Devon Levi. General Manager Kevin Adams is expected to make a move imminently. For Montreal, this represents the opportunity to acquire a young starter with a guaranteed contract, but the price and competition promise to be fierce. It's no secret that the Montembeault-Primo tandem has been inconsistent at best, catastrophic at worst, while Jacob Fowler shines in the American Hockey League. As we've discussed before, the NHL demands results today, not promises of tomorrow. UPL, as he's known, offers an intriguing profile. He's already proven he could be a number 1 goaltender in this league. But his recent inconsistency and 5-year contract make him a high-risk, high-reward gamble. The question facing Kent Hughes is simple but consequential. Does he trust his evaluation enough to commit $23.75 million to this goaltender? Let's start with understanding exactly who Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is, because context matters when you're talking about a multi-year commitment. The most important detail is the contract. Luukkonen signed an extension worth $23.75 million that runs through the 2028 to 2029 season. That's an annual average value of $4.75 million. In today's NHL, where starting goaltenders routinely command $6 to $8 million per season, that number looks reasonable if he performs. But if he struggles, it becomes an anchor contract that's difficult to move and eats valuable cap space that Montreal will need as their young players come off entry-level deals. The recent performance is where this gets complicated and concerning. The reporting warns about inconsistency. In the 2025-2026 season, Luukkonen has posted a 2.51 goals against average and an .899 save percentage in 8 games while dealing with injuries. Those numbers aren't just mediocre. They're alarming. An .899 save percentage is below replacement level. That's the kind of number that gets goaltenders sent to the minors or traded. For comparison, the previous season in 2023 to 2024, he posted much better numbers with a 2.57 goals against and a .910 save percentage. Those are the numbers that earned him the extension. Montreal will be betting that the 2024 form is the real Luukkonen and that this season's struggles are an aberration caused by injury or Buffalo's dysfunction. The physical tools are there. Luukkonen is big, athletic, and still young for a goaltender at 26. Goaltenders often don't hit their prime until their late 20s. So theoretically, his best years should be ahead of him. Analyst David Pagnotta suggests there's appetite to seriously look at moving him again due to Devon Levi's emergence in Buffalo. That's the key phrase. Moving him again. Buffalo isn't shopping Luukkonen because they think he's great and want to maximize value. They're shopping him because they have a logjam and need to clear space. That's a seller's weakness that smart buyers can exploit. The Buffalo context is critical to understanding why this deal might be available. The Sabres have put themselves in a vulnerable position. The reporting states clearly that Buffalo still operates with 3 goaltenders, and the setup can't last much longer. That's organizational dysfunction, creating opportunity. They need to open roster spots and clear salary cap space. That gives leverage to buyers like Montreal and Edmonton. Kevin Adams can demand a king's ransom when everyone in the league knows he has to sell. The longer he waits, the more desperate he looks, and the lower the price drops. But here's where this gets competitive and potentially expensive. The biggest obstacle for Montreal isn't the acquisition price. It's the rival bidder, Edmonton Oilers. With Stanley Cup aspirations and serious questions about their own goaltending tandem of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard, view UPL as a possible missing link. They're desperate. Their championship window with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl is closing. They can't afford another season wasted because of goaltending. That desperation makes them dangerous in negotiations because they might be willing to overpay. Montreal does have some advantages in this bidding war. The Habs have more salary cap space to absorb Luukkonen's contract without significant maneuvering. They also have a deeper prospect pool to offer Buffalo. Edmonton is all in on winning now and has already spent significant draft capital in recent years. They don't have the same flexibility to make competitive offers without gutting their future. If this turns into an auction, Hughes can outbid them by offering better prospects or higher draft picks. The question is whether he should. This is where the risk-reward calculation becomes fascinating and terrifying. Acquiring Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen would be a declaration that the Canadiens want to accelerate the rebuild. He's not a veteran stopgap brought in for a year or two. He's a goaltender signed for the next 4 seasons. If he recovers his 9-10 form from last season, the $4.75 million contract will look like a bargain. Montreal would have their starting goaltender locked in at a reasonable price through the prime years of their young core. That's exactly the kind of asset management that builds sustainable contenders. But if he continues performing at $8.99, if the injuries persist, if the inconsistency is a feature rather than a bug, then Montreal will have traded one problem for another much more expensive one. Cayden Primeau's struggles are frustrating, but he's on a cheap contract and easy to move or demote. Luukkonen at $4.75 million, with 3 years remaining, would be an anchor. You can't send that to the minors. You can't easily trade it. You're stuck hoping he figures it out while watching games slip away. The comparison to Montreal's current situation is stark. Samuel Montembeault and Cayden Primeau have combined for an .877 save percentage, ranking 28th in the league. Luukkonen's $8.99 this season isn't much better. You'd be trading for a marginal upgrade at best, taking on significant financial commitment and blocking Jacob Fowler's path to the NHL. That's a lot of risk for not much reward. Unless, of course, you believe Luukkonen's struggles are temporary and his true talent level is closer to the 9-10 he showed last season. The urgency is real. Buffalo is desperate to move a goaltender. Edmonton is circling aggressively. If Montreal wants Luukkonen, they need to act quickly before the Oilers make an offer that Buffalo can't refuse. But urgency shouldn't override careful evaluation. Just because a player is available doesn't mean you should acquire him. Just because a rival wants him doesn't mean he's worth having. Sometimes the best trade is the one you don't make. The organizational philosophy question looms large. Montreal has preached patience throughout this rebuild. They've talked about developing prospects properly, not rushing timelines. Building sustainably. Trading for Luukkonen contradicts all of that. It's an impatient move that prioritizes short-term stability over long-term planning. It potentially blocks Fowler, who might be ready sooner than expected. It commits significant money to a position where they have organizational depth. Is that the right move for a team that's still building? Or is it premature acceleration that could backfire? With the Sabres desperate to sell and the Oilers prowling, Kent Hughes faces a decision that will define his tenure. Is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen the goaltender of the future, the missing piece that stabilizes Montreal's crease for the next 4 years? Or is he just another expensive promise, a player whose best days might already be behind him, whose injury history and inconsistency make him too risky at this price? The answer to that question will determine whether this trade becomes a stroke of genius or a cautionary tale about the dangers of impatience. Acquiring Luukkonen is a bet. It's a bet that his talent is real and his struggles are temporary. It's a bet that he's worth blocking Fowler's development path. It's a bet that $4.75 million for 4 years is reasonable value. And it's a bet that Montreal needs a win now rather than continue building patiently. Those are big bets with significant consequences either way. Kent Hughes needs to decide quickly whether he's willing to put his chips on the table for a goaltender who just might save the season, or might become the next expensive mistake. Should Montreal pull the trigger on Luukkonen despite the risks, or is this exactly the kind of impatient move that derails rebuilds? Would you rather see them stick with Montreal and wait for Fowler, or take a chance on a young star with a team-friendly contract? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that like button if you think this trade could change everything for the Canadiens.